Hello there, friends. It's Jimmy Maverick. Welcome to another edition of the Fantasy Maverick podcast. We are back, baby, and we are talking fantasy football. Today's topic, we're talking about quarterbacks on a contract year for 2021. So you definitely want to know this list of players, and you definitely need to know which ones I like the best for fantasy football. Here we go.
Listen up. It's time for the Fantasy Maverick podcast, starring the guy who's going to help you win that fantasy championship, Jimmy Maverick.
Hello there, friends. It's Jimmy Maverick. Welcome to another edition of the Fantasy Maverick podcast. And hey, before I forget, please be sure to like, share, and subscribe to my podcast here. I know I've been a little off the wagon the past few months, but it's the off season. We haven't missed that much. I wanted to let you know that I am currently working on the 2021 update of my app, My Perfect Fantasy Draft, getting a lot of new information in there. So that's happening. Obviously, we got the NFL draft happening this next weekend, which is always fantastic. I love to see where those players are going. And then once that's done, I'll be able to get the data file to import all that information into my system, and I expect to have the app fully functional, ready for your drafts in June. So I just want to give you a little update there, but things are happening. There's a lot of stuff I want to talk about. Obviously, I've taken the past few months off, so there's a lot of topics I didn't do anything on. I apologize. Again, I've been pursuing some other money-making ventures, but I am on the fantasy horse here. I'm going to try to post on a regular basis, and so we're just going to go to it. So today, what I want to talk about is contract year players, specifically contract year quarterbacks, and what their prospects are for the upcoming season. Now, in my app, I love contract year players, and something weird that happened last year was it was actually a pretty terrible year for contract year players, which was very unusual. Really, the only player in the top 100 that was really worth it as a contract year player was Aaron Jones of Green Bay. That was it, man. I mean, then there were some late round guys. You had Will Fuller had a decent season until he got suspended. You had Curtis Samuel, and there was a couple other minor players that ended up having very good contract year type seasons, which is basically what I say is it is because of the monetary contracts that they're playing for. And really, let's look at your normal job, right? Your boss comes to you and says, hey, because you did such a good job, we're going to pay you a whole extra $1 an hour as part of a raise, and you're supposed to be happy about that. But in the NFL, it's a little different, man. In the NFL, these guys are playing for maybe $1 million a year. And in this case, the coach comes up to them and says, hey, man, you know what? If you do a really good job for me this next year, I'll pay you 10 times as much next year, right? Who wouldn't be motivated if you thought you were going to get a 10 times your pay increase for doing a good job? So that's why I love contract year players. And in the app, there's two ways they're marked. If they have a gold dollar sign next to their name, that means their contract expires at the end of this season, the 2021 season. And if they have a silver dollar next to their name, that means their contract expires after the 2022 season, so after next season. And this is only for the rookie contract players. Now, based on the kind of player, the bonuses for these contract years are a little different. Now, these things both give you bonuses to the player's outlook. So typically, with most players, if it's a contract year for the player, the gold dollar, they get plus 2 stars on their outlook, which is a significant boost to their value, to their VORC score. If it's a silver dollar, then they usually get plus 1 to their outlook, which is, again, it's also good. Not as good as a contract year player, but with quarterbacks, I reverse it. And the reason why I reverse it is because any quarterback that goes to a gold dollar contract year is in trouble. And as an example, I'll give you 2. Mitch Trubisky in Chicago was on the last year of his contract. Likewise, the season before, Jameis Winston, they took him to the 5th year of his contract. And again, it's just because they hadn't played well enough to get a long-term deal done. And so what happens, both those guys, they're ejected and now they're backups, both of them. So you don't ever want to see your quarterback go to a gold dollar. And really, if they're doing very well, it is after their third season, which, again, these are all first-round picks. So in first-round NFL drafts, those players always have the fifth-year option on their contract. So once they played year 3, they still have 2 years to go, so it's the silver dollar, then that's usually when they get their contract extension. So the third year is the critical year for most quarterbacks. And very rarely do they go to that fourth year or that fifth year. That's totally out of sight. So that's how they're marked. And so in quarterback's case, if it's a silver dollar, they get +2 to their outlook. If it's a gold dollar, they get +1. So I'm still holding out hope for them. But again, it's never a good sign when a quarterback goes to a contract year. They always get taken care of beforehand if they're doing a good job. So we've got 6 quarterbacks this year that are currently in the contract year. So they're either a silver or a gold dollar. Now, I fully expect 2 of these guys to have a contract extension before the season begins. And those 2 would be Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. This is the class of 2018. So they've completed their 3 full seasons. They have both proven themselves to be worthy of a high dollar long-term extension. And so I fully expect both those guys to get their contract extension. They will no longer be contract year players, and so we're not really going to worry about them too much. But there are 4 others. There are some intriguing options here, but a little risk. Now, the one that I like the most, the one that I think is the surest fire to have a great season and have some upside, is Kyler Murray, who is class of 2019. So he is entering his 3rd season here. He's had 2 full seasons now. And if he does good this year, there is a good chance that he could get his contract extension after the season is done. So he's got the silver dollar. And, obviously he's on a team with an offensive-minded coach. They have loaded him up with some fantastic weapons, including DeAndre Hopkins. The rumors are for the NFL draft that they are going to draft their first pick. They're going to take another elite wide receiver, probably one of the Alabama receivers. So things are looking really good for Kyler Murray. Now, he's going at about the same price as the same place as Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. Let's hear. Allen goes at number 42. Murray goes at number 53. Lamar Jackson goes at number 55. So these guys are all going in the same place of the draft, pretty much. But as far as which one would I want, well, I would want the one with the most upside. And to me, that would be Kyler Murray. Once Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson get paid, and they totally worth it, right? They are absolutely worth every dollar they're going to get. But they're not going to be playing for as much as Kyler Murray is. Kyler Murray is going to be paying for a monster payday. So he's, again, great upside for him, for this offense, for fantasy football. Now, the other 3 contract year players are all outside the top 100. So these are low-risk picks for your fantasy draft. And I don't know if I could bet my season on taking these guys as my number 1. But if you happen to be in the kind of leagues where you take 2 quarterbacks, I would definitely consider one of these guys. Okay, I think they all are pretty good. Now, the first one is at pick number 166. So this is right at the end of most drafts. Most drafts only go to pick 180. So 166 would be either a 14th or a 15th round pick. But it's Baker Mayfield of Cleveland. Now the big knock against Baker is this offense is very clearly and very authentically a run-first offense with 2 great running backs. And so that kind of limits his upside. And Baker Mayfield himself is not a running quarterback. So, he is he's in a good situation on a good team that I think is going to do very well this year. But as far as fantasy purposes, not sure how valuable he is. Now, something to consider is Baker Mayfield. Also on this offense, there's another player with a contract year, and that would be Nick Chubb, who I really like this year. Even though he has to share that backfield, Chubb has proven himself to be a very effective runner, very productive runner, which gets a lot of touches, and it's a contract year. Now, when you have a team with two offensive players, both on a contract year, they tend to feed off of each other. So that's a really good thing. And just to give you an example, Dak Prescott and Amari Cooper were both on a contract year in 2019. They both had career seasons. So I love to see that kind of upside, and that is certainly something that we could see here. I just think just the way that team is run, Baker Mayfield's upside is limited. I don't think he can make it up into QB1 numbers. But he could be a high-end QB2, right? But again, we're talking low-risk play, 2 quarterback leagues. He'd be a great choice, because you can wait to get him. You don't have to spend so much draft capital to get that player. Now, the next one is going even later than that, and this is really outside of the range of most drafts. Most drafts only go to pick 180, so this guy is at pick number 188 right now, so this is a guy that you would expect to see on your waiver wire after the draft is done, or you could spend your very last pick on this player. And, it's really a guy, in my opinion, who is very much on it's kind of a make or break season for him. It's Daniel Jones. And his career hasn't been quite as illustrious as Kyler Murray's has. Both of them are from the class of 2019. They're both entering their third season, and it's been an up and down. It's been very up and down for Daniel Jones. Hard to get a read on him, and I'm sure the coaches feel that too. So this is really a season where he really needs to shine, or there's going to be problems. And the good news is that here's another situation where we've got him paired up with another player on the offense who is also on a contract year. That's Saquon Barkley. Now, again, I love it when there's 2 contract year players on the same offense because they tend to feed off each other. But the problem here is that, first of all, Saquon Barkley for the past 2 seasons has been extremely disappointing, dealing with numerous injuries, and has not played well in the games where he has played with Daniel Jones. Remember, in Saquon's rookie season, he was fantastic. He was the best the best running back in the league, but he was playing with Eli Manning for most of the year. He only played a couple of games with Daniel Jones at the end of the season, and then, it's been Daniel Jones each of the past 2 seasons. So it's... This is, again, it's a risky play. It's a tough call, but it's a low risk play from a draft perspective. Daniel Jones, you will expect to see him on the draft board after the drafts are done. You can pick him up if he starts doing anything. Only in the deeper leagues would you want to draft him, really. But again, these two are both in pretty decent situations for good upside. Daniel Jones, they brought in Kenny Golladay, so they got a real true elite wide receiver 1 now on that team. If Saquon comes back healthy and ready to go from this reconstructive knee surgery that he had done, that's also very promising. So there's the potential for upside here. So, again, I like it. I like it, but I'm not sure I would draft him. I hardly ever take a second quarterback unless it's a super deep league, something where it's like 18 rounds or larger, where you've got a large bench, 8 to 10 slot bench. That's when I would take a second quarterback. But in most leagues, the typical 15-round league, I'm not going to be drafting a second quarterback. There's always plenty of depth as far as that position goes on the waiver wire. But the last guy I want to talk to you about is a guy who's pretty much off of everybody's radar. But I got to say, as far as upside goes for a contract year player, I think this guy has and offers the most upside. And that is, surprisingly, I can't believe I'm saying his name, Sam Darnold, who was traded from the Jets to the Panthers this past offseason. He is entering, he's a class of 2018, so this is his 4th season. The Panthers have not exercised his 5th-year option. So this is a gold dollar quarterback, which, again, not what you like to see, but the upside is there, and I'll explain why. The first thing is he has the Adam Gase effect, okay, right? The past 2 seasons, he's been working under Adam Gase, who sucks, is the worst coach in the NFL, and we have seen repeatedly players that have gotten away from Adam Gase all of a sudden blossom into fantasy-relevant players. You've got Robbie Anderson last season. The season before, you have Ryan Tannehill and who else? Devontae Parker, right? Devontae Parker who never did anything on the Dolphins. All of a sudden, Adam Gase leaves, and he has his best season ever. Okay, so there's precedent here, and I like that. He's also going to a team which has extremely good offensive weapons. Jets didn't have crap for the past 2 years. But now he's got CMC in the backfield. He's got DJ Moore. He's got Robbie Anderson, who he has played with before, and they played well together. So there's a lot of positives here. And his ADP right now, outside the top 250, 257, this is a guy who definitely will still be on the waiver wire in most cases. Would I have the guts to take him as my QB1? No way, not a chance. Absolutely as a QB2, I love the upside here. And if he can make it happen, he's going to be rewarded. So it's something to keep an eye on. One of the big things about the draft this next week that is going to be interesting to see is if Carolina trades up to get one of the top 5 quarterbacks that are on the draft board. So most experts are saying that they're not going to do that, and I'm okay with that. If they do end up taking one of those quarterbacks, all this nice stuff I'm saying about Sam Darnold is going to go away. But again, if they don't, this is a great opportunity for him, and the upside is clear and huge, and it's a no-risk play. It's a last-pick person that you can take and roster on your team, and if he works out, it's great. If he doesn't work out, it's not going to hurt your team. So that's the guy that I'm really keeping my eye on right now. So there you have it. So that is the list of the contract year players, quarterbacks in the NFL, and I got to tell you, we have a ton of contract year players this year. There's an extraordinary number of them, probably 20 running backs and 20 wide receivers are all in the contract year phase, either 1 or 2 years from their next contract. Plus, we've got we've got 8 tight ends. There's a ton of upside here, and so we're going to talk about those other players in later podcasts. But I wanted to go over quarterbacks because that was the easiest list to go through. So anyway, so that's it, man. That's it for the podcast today. So thank you very much for watching. I do appreciate it. And if you have any questions or comments, please leave them below. We'd love to hear from you guys. Of course, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. I promise I'm going to be better about posting this thing regularly now that we're kind of heading into off-season activities, and a lot with the draft happening and stuff. There's going to be lots to talk about. My app, I anticipate it's going to be all done and ready to go in June, but I am posting updates into it right now. You can go check it out if you were a subscriber from last year. Even if you're not a subscriber, you can go to my website, fantasyfootballmaverick.com. You can sign up for free. You can get free access to a limited version of the app, but you can see all those silver and gold dollars because I put those all in now. So anyway, thank you very much for watching. I appreciate it. I will be back soon with more episodes. Thank you very much for watching or listening, and I will talk to you soon. Have a great day, everybody.